Jessica from The Social Speechy. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. I hope you guys are excited to watch it as I am to film it. If you've been following me on Instagram for any amount of time, you know that I love, and I mean love, reading self-development books. I read every single morning at least one chapter out of a self-development book, so I crank through them pretty quickly. Sorry that my neighbor is mowing their lawn. I'm sure you can hear that, but this is the only time that I have to film this video, so we're gonna roll with it. I'll put some pretty music in the background and hope that that distracts you from the lawnmower. But I have 15 of my favorite self-development books spread out in front of me here, and then I have 3 that are on my to-read list for next up. So I'm gonna go ahead and just jump right in. These are not in any particular order. All of these books, and the thing that I like about this list that I have compiled here is I feel like a lot of them can apply to any type of person. So I know a lot of self-development books are very like entrepreneur driven, but these aren't really like that. These are just books that can really improve anyone's life if they apply the principles that are in the books. So that's one thing that I really like about this list, is that it's a very diverse list. That's a good word for it. So like I said, it's not any order. I'm just gonna start grabbing books and explaining them. The whole reason that I'm making this video is because I get probably 5 to 7 messages a week on Instagram of people asking me for book recommendations because they see me on my Instagram stories. I always share like little clips of books that I'm reading, like little parts of it. So I wanted to have one video that I could just send them the link and be like, here is all of my favorite books in one place. So let's go ahead. I think I'm gonna start with this one because it's on top and because, y'all, this book, Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis, I feel like it's a very in book to read right now. I read it in March or April. It was over my spring break, so March or April, before it was like the cool book to read. And I think this is why a lot of people are coming to me for book recommendations, is because I was sharing this one a lot and I recommended it to everyone and they read it and they're like, oh, that is a really good book. So I think this is kind of what spurred like people coming to me for book recommendations. But this one, the little, what is it called? Not subtitle. What is it? Tagline. The little tagline is, stop believing the lies about who you are so you can become who you were meant to be. So I love Rachel Hollis. I follow her on Instagram. She is phenomenal. So it says, do you ever suspect that everyone else has life figured out and you don't have a clue? If so, Rachel Hollis has something to tell you. That's a lie. So I'm not gonna read you like all of the summaries of all the books because this video would be forever long, but I will just like kind of briefly say my favorite thing about each book. So my favorite thing about this book, there's no cheese factor in it. It is not cheesy. It feels like you are sitting down with Rachel, having a cup of coffee, and she is just spitting wisdom at you. So I absolutely love this book and I would highly recommend it. I go through all of my books and I underline as I'm reading like parts that really stick out to me. So as I'm going through these, I'm just gonna flip to a page that's underlined and read like one line from each book to you guys. So hopefully it's a good one that it ends up landing on. So this one says, every single part of your life, your gratitude, the way you manage stress, how you are kind to others, how happy you are, can be changed by a shift in your perception. Very true. Solid advice. So this is definitely one that I would recommend. Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. And then next up, I will go into this one, You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. I think that's how you say her name. I read this one, gosh, 2 years ago now? Yeah, I think I read this book 2 years ago. And again, it's starting to become really popular now, but I read it quite a while ago and I really liked it. I will say this one is a little bit heavier on the cheese factor. I can get past like a cheesy self-development book, it doesn't bother me that bad. I know some people are like, yo, I can't hang with that. So if you can handle a little bit of cheese, you will probably enjoy this book. You Are a Badass is the self-help book for people who desperately want to improve their lives but don't want to get busted doing it. I will say I really like the chapter titles in this book. That's kind of what drew it to me a few years ago. My 2 favorite chapters in this book, so it's divided up into 5 parts. Part 1 is how you got this way. Part 2 is how to embrace your inner badass. Part 3, how to tap into the mother load. Part 4, how to get over your BS already. And part 5, how to kick some ass. So my 2 favorite chapters in this book, The Big Snooze, which is chapter 4, and then Self-Perception is a Zoo, which is chapter 5. So self-perception is a zoo. One line that I really liked is, it's just as easy to believe we're awesome as it is to believe we're giant sucking things. So, you know, like I said, this is a really good one, a little bit cheesier than Girl Wash Your Face, but I really would recommend this one. I really enjoyed it. And then after that, I'm going to go into these two next. These are by the same person, Emily Lay. She is the creator of the Simplified Planner, or the Simplified Planner. I don't know. Anyway, she's from Tampa, which is where I live, so I am like really drawn to her for that reason, and she's just a really sweet soul. I haven't met her, but just based on like social media, I mean. So her first book that she wrote was called Grace, Not Perfection. I will hold myself to a standard of grace, not perfection. If the title doesn't lure you in, then I don't know what to tell you, because yes, please. But this is just a really sweet book. There's just lots of like, I don't know, when I think of Emily Lay, I think she's like very warm and like motherly, and you know, just someone that like you would want to help you through something, like, you know what I mean? She comes across as that in her books, just like very real, sweet, warm advice. So something that I have underlined in this one, and I love these books too because they have like really pretty pages too, so like pictures. They're really good coffee table books, if that makes sense. So here's one. Ultimately, simplifying allows us to slow down enough to savor this life. That's one. Community is everything, so build it carefully and intentionally. I love that. I have a lot of stuff underlined in here. Forgive yourself for not being superwoman. You can always find ways to help, serve, or contribute. They may not be the most valiant or noteworthy, but they're still helpful. Give yourself grace to do what you can, where you are, with what you have. God created billions of other amazing people with gifts and callings. You don't have to carry the entire weight of the world on your own. So this one, again, is Grace, Not Perfection, embracing simplicity, celebrating joy. So I love this one, and like I said, it's a hardback, it's really pretty. And then going right into this one, because it is also by Emily Lay, I actually liked this book a little bit more than Grace, Not Perfection. Not that I liked it more, I just feel like this one like hit home for me a little bit more. So Tactical Tools for Intentional Living, which, fun fact, my word for 2018, I always choose a word that I want to represent my year in like at the new year. And this year, my year was intentional, and last year my year was savor. So fun fact there. And same thing, this one has just very like pretty pictures and lots of like tactile tools, I guess, from the title, but I loved how it was broken up. And let me see if I can find a little underline. It's just stuff that you can do like right now to simplify your life, and that's why I really liked it. But the way that Emily presents it is in a way that's not overwhelming, because I know some books that are about like simplifying, you read something and you're like, whoa, like now I have to spend like the whole entire month just like decluttering my house. This book is not like that. It's just a really good book that gives you like tactical tools. I didn't really underline anything in here just because I feel like I would underline the whole entire book, because everything in here is just so useful. So there's that one. And then these two I read before I went back to school, I think. So the summer of 2015, I think, is when I read both of these, or the summer of 2016. It was either 2 summers ago or 3 summers ago that I read these. I'm not exactly sure, but I read them back to back, and they're really, really good. These are less spiritual books, I guess. So like a lot of like the Girl Wash Your Face, and then the Emily Lay books, and then a lot of the other ones that I'm going to talk about, they're a lot kind of faith-based, but these ones are not really faith-based. I guess they are spiritual books, but they're not faith-based, if that makes any sense. So this one we'll start with is Mastering Your Mean Girl. Melissa Ambrosini is the author, and she has an Australian accent. I listen to her podcast, and I absolutely adore her. And the little blurb is the No BS Guide to Silencing Your Inner Critic and Becoming Wildly Wealthy, Fabulously Healthy, and Bursting with Love. So let me see if I can find, okay, this is the first one the first page that I opened to that has something underlined, and it says, expectations are one of the biggest killers of self-love and relationships, a fact I know all too well. So it's just, and this one too has like little journaling parts that you can do as you're reading. Just because something is common, that doesn't mean you have to follow it. Blaze your own trail and be a leader, not a follower. Every time you deny your truth and don't act in alignment, there's always a consequence. So, loved this one. And then this one's a little bit different. This one is The Goddess Revolution by Mel Wells. Make peace with food, love your body, and reclaim your life. Again, this one is more spiritual, not so much like faith-based, just so you guys are aware of that. But I love this one because I read this book when I was kind of in a transition phase, like with my relationship with food. So this really helps me to just accept food for what it is instead of like, I don't know, tying it to different things, if that makes any sense. So this one is the page that I opened to, so I'll read this one to you. If you want to be your happiest, most vibrant and healthy self, really think about what you are fueling your mind as well as your body with. What are you reading and seeing? Are you filling your head with positive, encouraging thoughts? Are you teaching yourself something worthwhile? Are you helping yourself move forwards or backwards, or staying stuck in comparison-itis? So I really, really liked that little blurb. And again, even though like the little like subtitle thing says make peace with food and love your body and reclaim your life, this book has a lot more than just like advice about food. So I would highly recommend The Goddess Revolution by Mel Wells. I'm gonna start to speed this up a little bit because this video is gonna be way too long. Okay, next up I have The Best Yes by Lysa TerKeurst. TerKeurst. I don't know how to say her last name. I always just call her Lysa in my head. And I think it's Lysa, not Lysa? Lysa? I don't know, guys. I follow her on Instagram too, and I adore her as well. So let's just open this up and see. And this one is a biblical, like faith-based book. And like she has a lot of like Bible verses in here and things like that. So here is the little excerpt from this one. It says, but look at how the scriptures challenge us to put the attitude of love before every one of these good activities, because without love, we are nothing and bankrupt. The ways of God insist on an attitude of love. Therefore, my ways should reflect an attitude of love, not a ragged, rushed, and rash attitude due to overactivity. Truth. That one always hits me hard when I read it. Is it loving to say no? Absolutely. If doing so protects and preserves a loving attitude for the part of this assignment, that is mine. So my attitude of love must trump my activity every time. So this says, are you living with the stress of an overwhelmed schedule and aching with the sadness of an underwhelmed soul? So if that sounds like you, The Best Yes is a must read. And I absolutely loved this one. I absolutely loved all of these. I don't know why I keep saying that. Obviously I like them or I wouldn't be talking about them. This one I read, gosh, before I started grad school, I read all the time. So I read a lot of these over one summer. This one is Wild and Free, a hope-filled anthem for the woman who feels she is both too much and never enough. I remember this one hit home a lot. And it is by Jess Connolly and Hayley Morgan, and the foreword is by Jenny Allen. So let's see, I just saw an underline page. Here, oh, this is a big underline page. Get ready. Okay, so it's not that we have to live for God, it's that we get to live for God. It's not that we have to serve him, it's that we get to serve him. It's not that he wants more from us, it's that he wants more for us. You are the real work, and it is already finished. God does not need you to do something big for him, and he doesn't need you to fulfill your part. But in his great love, he has prepared works for you, according to Ephesians 2:10, and he intentionally crafted you with gifts because he wants that life of giving and serving for you. He knows you're the most when you're living out of the calling he has given you. He knows the enemy is quieted when your loving is loud. Ooh, that's good. He knows the ache that wonders what on earth you're here for. He's already prepared all of that and made a way through the power of the Holy Spirit for you to walk with him and serve him. So clearly this is a faith-based book. It is very heavy in the biblical principles. God does not worry, he is peace. There is no fear in him. He is love, and perfect love drives out fear. We are released from a life of anxiety because he's asked us to cast our cares on him. He bears up under the weight of our worry, and he says his yoke is easy. He is not afraid of confrontation because it is often conflict that draws people out of hiding and into the light. So this one is a must read. I love it. And then next I will go into this one. I read this one a very long time ago. Carry On Warrior, The Power of Embracing Your Messy, Beautiful Life by Glennon, Doyle, Melton. She has since written another book, maybe more than one, but I know that she has definitely one other book out that I want to read. I can't remember the name of it right now, but if I do read it, I will give you guys an update. So this one was a New York Times bestseller. And I remember when I was reading this one, I laughed out loud a lot. Like her humor and my humor, I feel like are similar. She's very just like cut and dry, like it is what it is. And she doesn't really like sugarcoat things, which I really appreciated. So let me see if I can find a little underlined part in here. I might have read this one before I started writing in my books. I went through a phase where I was like scared to write in my books, but after a while I was like, they're mine. I'm going to write in them. Because I used to let people borrow my books and I was like, I don't want them to see what I'm underlining, and now I'm just like, don't care. So I don't have anything underlined in here, but it's really good, I promise. This was a really good one. A girlfriend of mine got this for me when I was starting my grad school journey. It is called Uninvited, and it's another one by Lysa, TerKeurst. Sorry y'all. This is also a #1 New York Times bestseller. So the little like blurb is living loved when you feel less than, left out, and lonely. I remember this one was so good, and like my friend read it and she's like, you need to read this, and I was like, okay, and she like drove over to my house that night and like dropped this off for me to read. So something that I opened up to right away: no amount of outside achievement fixes inside hurts. So true. And again, this is a faith-based book, so there are like biblical principles and stuff in here. There's an underline. There is something wonderfully sacred that happens when a girl chooses to realize that being set aside is actually God's call for her to be set apart. Wow, I underlined a lot in here. When we know Christ, it should show in our overflow, regardless of our relative success or discouragement in the face of rejection. Wisdom makes decisions today that will still be good for tomorrow. Don't let today's reaction become tomorrow's regret. That's good too. So I underlined like basically this whole book. So there's that one. Next up is Present Over Perfect. Leaving behind frantic for a simpler, more soulful way of living. Are you guys like seeing a pattern here? Like basically simplifying is like the pattern that I see here, is like not getting caught up in like works and achievements and simplifying your life. So clearly that's something that I'm working on. So this one is by Shauna. I'm not even gonna try to say it. It starts, you guys can just read it yourself. There you go. She has quite a few books out, and this is the only one that I've read, but it was really good, so I do need to read some of her other ones. Let's see, this underline says, this life you're building is entirely your creation, fashioned out of your dreams and your fears. You get to make your life. In fact, you have to. And not only can you make it, you can remake it. My mom's texting me. Hi, Mom, if you're watching this. Get back to you in a second. And I'm finding that one of the greatest delights in life is walking away from what someone told you you should be in favor of walking toward what you truly love in your own heart, in your own secret soul. But what I've learned the hard way is you don't answer to a set of people and their opinions, even if they're good people with good opinions. You were made by hand with great love by God of the universe, and He planted deep inside of you a set of loves and dreams and idiosyncrasies, and you can ignore them as long as you want, but they will at some point start yelling. That's really good. Worse than that, if you ignore them long enough, they will go silent, and that's the real tragedy. What's changing everything for me is a new understanding that we get to decide how we want to live. We get to shape our days and our weeks, and if we don't, they'll get shaped by the wide catch-all of normal and typical, and who wants that? We can live on a farm or out of a backpack. You can work from your kitchen or in a high-rise, and it just goes on. So I really like this one. I was trying to keep this video under 20 minutes, and I failed, but hang in there, guys, we're almost done. These two were written by the same author, and I really love them. Cultivate by Lara Casey. How many times can I say, and I really love them? Of course I do. That's why they're in the video. Make It Happen by Lara Casey. So Cultivate is a grace-filled guide to growing an intentional life. There's that word intentional again. I like this one a little bit more than this one. So I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I tried reading this one, gosh, when it first came out, because I love Laura Casey, she is the editor-in-chief of Southern Weddings magazine, which I have been a follower of for a very long time. But when she came out with this, I tried to read it and it just wasn't resonating with me at the time. But then I picked it up again after I started the Social Speechy, and I was like devouring it because I had purpose and direction in my life, and I had something that I wanted to make happen. So it applied to me more. So keep that in mind. If you're kind of like unsure of your direction, this one might not be for you right now, but then once you figure out like what your direction is, then this is one that you will definitely want to read. So it says, surrender your fear, take the leap, live on purpose. So I love this one. But stillness is not the opposite of forward motion. In stillness, we are able to hear powerful wisdom that gives us clarity, and clarity produces action. Stillness enables us to move forward with purpose. Stillness allows us to be intentional instead of reactionary. So that's a line out of this one. And then Cultivate, a grace-filled guide to growing an intentional life. And let's see, oh, there's an underline. Where did it go? Well, here's another one anyways. Complaining clutters our minds, keeping us from noticing God at work and the fruit of the Spirit. Galatians 5:22 and 23. But gratitude clears our minds and connects our hearts to the source of contentment, God Himself. Remember this, complaining clutters, gratitude clears and connects. Ooh, that's really good. That like gave me goosebumps. So that one, love that one, amazing. And then we're almost done. This one is Girl Boss, hashtag Girl Boss. I don't know, do you add the hashtag? Whatever. By Sophia Amoruso, founder and executive chairman of Nasty Gal, which was an online clothing boutique. I don't know if it's still like a thing. I'm not sure. I never shopped there, but I just heard that this book was really good, so I read it. And I did really enjoy it. I think I read this one a long time ago. I liked this one because it shared her story. So a lot of these other ones are just like advice-filled books. This one shared her story, like her struggles, like what she went through, like from start to finish. Like these ones share like parts of people's story, but I feel like this one kind of shared her business story from start to finish and like gave advice like in between. So it says, Sophia Amoruso shares how she went from dumpster diving to founding one of the fastest growing retailers in the world. And it's very funny. Her humor, like she's really funny. Let's see, I don't think I underlined anything in here. I think this was before I underlined things. Yeah, but it's a good book to read. And then I am currently reading The Wild Card by Hope and Wade King, 7 Steps to an Educator's Creative Breakthrough. Y'all, I'm like 3 or 4 chapters in, like I just started it, and I love it. But also, I am obsessed with Hope and Wade King. I'm on part 2. And like they could write a book about ant farming and I would buy it and read it just because I love them and their passion so much. Like some of the subtitles within their chapters, creativity is a personal brand, creativity is a mindset, creativity drives engagement, the deck is not stacked against you. So it's a very just like stop being negative and here's ways to do that. So I really like this one. And then I have 3 over here that I am going to be reading soon. I have not started reading these yet, but they are on my list. So An Intentional Life by Karen Stott. I love the word intentional if you have not figured that out. Havilah Cunnington, Stronger Than the Struggle, Uncomplicating Your Spiritual Battle. I love her, so that's why I bought this book. All of my devotions that I do are by her. And then Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. This one has been a struggle for me to get into, but everybody loves it, so I'm trying to read it. I'm hoping that it gets a little bit better as I get more into it, but we shall see. But anyway, those are my favorite self-development books. I hope this video was helpful. I hope it answered your question and gave you some book recommendations of books that you have not read yet. If you have any favorite self-development books that I did not chat about, leave a comment down below so I can check them out. I am always looking for new books. I love reading. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future videos, and I will see y'all in the next one.